and maintenance of the project. The operations and maintenance. If, and in, it sounds like they're the same, but they're not. One is making sure that there are inspections done in stage. The other is if there are failures to maintain or operate in accordance with the town, any town approval that was given, that there would be fines imposed and that would be done timely and effectively. And then the third, obviously, which seems to be a recurring issue, is the decommissioning plan. We're concerned about it being, a sufficient enough fund to cover the cost if the project were abandoned and the town had to take it on. So, board members, you all got those and had a chance to look at them? So we need to talk about next steps. And I know there's some is here, Gordon's here, and I forget what the other, but I didn't know if there was anything that you were here to add to what's already been provided to the town.
No, I'd note that we did follow up after last month's meeting and included a revised site plan that shows the boundary around the delineated wetlands, also called out some relative distances to the adjacent property line and residence, provides the view shed analysis to show the shifted project and its reduced visibility relative to the original project, and also added some visual simulations that had been discussed and mentioned by the planning board, and included those to provide as complete a record as possible. And then we cleaned up the environmental assessment form to note the adjoining property uses telecom, and corrected the fire department on the emergency response plan. Finally, we included a letter from the State Historic Preservation Office that notes, based on the field work done, the project will not have any impacts on cultural or historic resources.
Did you give that to Tim?
Vera? I think so. He was on the email. Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember getting that email.
You never signed.
I don't see any other. I didn't get an email.
Yeah, I sent it October 27th.
I know I didn't.
Did you send it to the whole board?
No, just you and Tim.
They're going on October 27th. Excuse me for just a minute. I'm gonna. Was it from you, Gordon?
Yes.
Sent anything I got? Oh yeah, you did send me something. Oh, you know why? Because it's Tim. Sorry.
Here we
So it didn't go to the board members. Well, I'm gonna send it right now. But
kind of follow the channel that we
yeah,
utilized when submitting the original permit application.
yeah. Okay. I will forward this. I'll do it. I'm not gonna do it right this minute. That's it. Okay. So. I guess I need to hear from the board as to what your desires are with next steps.
Oh, I'm gonna want to see what that email said.
Yeah, me too. And we're waiting on county planning, Nikki.
Yes, it was submitted to county planning, but we haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay. So
Do we want to have any more general discussion just about this in general, or just wait and give us the information?
well, I mean,
Discuss it
I
next time
think,
again?
I don't think that I think the information that's coming is probably, although we need to look at it, it's probably. It's not a whole nother application, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty specific to the things that were brought up at the last town board meeting, so I guess the question is, do we schedule this for a public hearing? We've got the ECC, we've got the planning board, we're waiting on county planning, but that'll probably come in this month.
Mhm.
The email, I'll send it to you. And if we do a public hearing, we do it on a board night, because it will probably take some time.
I mean, I've talked to each of the closest neighbors again to see if anything had, personally to see if anything had changed there, which it had not. They're all still very opposed to it. And we have, I mean, this isn't, it's a new project, but it's one we've been it's not really the first time we've looked at this exact spot, so,
Well, I have to say, the day that Diana. That's when it was, the day that Diana went to, you did your site visit with, Pivot. I went with her, just figured I would. I was very curious about how the changes affected the view for the neighbors, and once you get down, not to say that there aren't panels that can be seen by the neighbors, but they're 200 feet off the road now, I think. Is that right?
Or more.
But once you get past the crest of that hill and down there, you can't see anything but the dormers on the second floor of the house.
I actually took pictures.
So it's very, it's much less visible than it was, and they're gonna screen it. So, and that was different. I mean, I'm glad I went and looked at it.
There are some that will be close enough, they are gonna be in the view.
Yeah,
The other issue that has constantly been addressed that I did not hear mentioned is the fact that between the ERC and Bill, they think that the decommissioning bond is not big enough. So I haven't heard where that has been changed, but I do want to check the email out. And next post progression is what? The public hearing from there, right? It's, I don't know how much we want to keep pushing it out, but
well,
I'm not available until. I won't be available until after the December meeting.
between now and the December meeting.
Well, if it's before Thanksgiving,
Well, that's next week.
right?
Yeah, that's not, no. But I mean, what do you say you're not gonna be available till after?
I'm gone from just after Thanksgiving
Oh.
to December, so. You'd have to do the public hearing without me.
if we did want it, I needed to be like a December meeting where we go to then and schedule it after that. I mean, that's my opinion is we go ask the information and take it up in the December meeting and decide we still want to. I'll in summarization, I like the fact that they're trying to do a little more with the farming, when they were setting aside the other, I thought that was a good bonus. I like that. That was, this. Be all honest, this is a similar project, just a little bit tweaked from the first one that went voted down. That particular move there helped with my farming concerns. The neighbor concerns really didn't get changed. They've tried to help it, and I believe it probably did help the one side some. The main one is still pretty impacted. And I definitely believe that the decommissioning thing is quite a bit out of whack. That those are just, but so at this point, I still want to have public hearing, I mean, we were going, it's gonna be a. We've pretty much heard the public. Comments.
Well,
other
yes, but
times,
you know
We
that-
gotta have one, if you're going to, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I've heard enough, but. I'm. That's my. Wanted a discussion, that's what I
Okay.
said.
I'm back December 4th.
Well, that's. Yeah.
So our next meeting is December 12th.
Right.
Mhm.
If we're gonna schedule a public hearing. Then I don't see why we need to wait till next month to do that because. We have all of the information except for county planning. And what I'm gonna send you in the email that I got, and I apologize for not knowing I had it. 'Cause otherwise, we've got everything.
Just forward on the decommissioning bond, our law requires our engineer to review it to make sure that it's sufficient, so that would have to take place.
Would that be part, that's not part of this, that would be
No,
part of
So,
something.
that'll be part of the, yeah, if it moves forward to a site plan. It would. Wouldn't be. Our, we'll get it now though, to give anybody a sense if they. Did you give a number on that?
No. So we could produce that, I think the. If you wanted to have the engineer look at it now, we can produce something for discussion. I think the relevant point there is the 5-year review. Even once the initial bond is put out there. It's not set in stone, it's up for continued review for the town law.
What you guys wanna do, I'm not, like I said, I'm out of town, so.
Well,
Doesn't sound like anybody wants to.
I will make a motion and we'll see how it goes. I will make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for sometime in December. I think it should not be December 12th because I just think, unless it's gonna be the only thing on the event. I don't see that will happen. So,
You have to have a date, so.
I know, I'm thinking. We usually have the first Monday of the month free, but if you're not back till that is the day you're back, isn't it?
I fly back that day.
Yeah.
The whole first week is out for me, I'm just saying that.
Oh, we can put it, I'll say December 12th. At 6:35. On board.
Second.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Should the incoming board have anything to say about it? Because it won't happen. I'm on the board. There's no way it would get approved, the plan and everything.
What point?
You know, what, if we have the public hearing, gets approved, does the current new administration get to weigh in on anything? They're the ones that are gonna oversee a project.
Well, it would go to the planning board. I mean, the planning board would be the one
The
to,
next step.
that would be the third step in the process.
What is your question? Your question?
No, I
should
didn't
you
know.
Wait for the
Yeah,
new
should
board?
they have
or-
any say? They can speak.
I mean, that's really the question. I mean, if you hold it on December 12th. You hold the public hearing, printed, traditionally held the public hearing open for a month. That you don't have to do that if you didn't want to. And you can. If you're ready, you could presumably close the public hearing that night and vote on it, but. That wouldn't be.
Can you clarify that for me, Tim?
Sure.
I'm still fairly the newbie.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to hold the public hearing. What does that mean?
That means you don't close the public hearing.
So if we had a public
Adjourn
hearing
it
on the
to-
12th,
You can adjourn it to the next month, which we have done in the past. I don't know if that's, but you don't have to do that. And obviously, you're gonna have a new group of people sitting up there. So it's really
it's a lot of land.
I mean, it's an interesting question.
Well, the timing of this is unfortunate because it should have come before this board sooner. But there were some delays by the town planning board, so it should have been, we should have already had the public hearing at this point. Time wise, but that's neither here or there because this is where we're at.
Right.
If we have a public hearing this year. I don't know how to, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think that, nobody is going to care about the fairness to the applicant. I will guarantee you that. But there is a process that we have in place. They did apply in May. They didn't get on the June planning board agenda. They did in July. The planning board decided to adjourn them off of the August meeting. Is my understanding that they already had a big project that they were dealing with in August, so. Planning board didn't meet till September, after the town board meets. Never got the resolution in October, just got it for this month. And now we're here, so there is. I don't know where you weigh the fairness here, but there seems to be. And you put it to the next administration and we all know. What will happen. So let's not play games. We know.
We didn't have a public hearing for Seaboard.
No, because
So where's the fairness?
where's the fairness? That was,
What-
that we knew was dead in the water. That one
By
we
virtue
knew.
of what?
The,
The number of people that showed up?
no, I think it was the issues that involved that. The drainage was a huge issue.
Well,
That was a huge issue.
I mean, I think we haven't spent, we've spent all as much, we haven't spent as much time on this as we did the Seaboard or the last one, so we're on the same schedule. And and even the first time this came up, it took all this much time, so we're on the same type of a schedule as it was before. I don't think there's a, and there is if there's different people that have been elected and it is kind of that may have been an issue in the election thing somewhat, so probably it's wise, to
Well-
let them be the ones that have a final say in the thing.
Well, there's 5 of us here and we can't have a hearing unless we vote for a majority.
But
I'm a motion on the.
there's a motion,
And Diana's the second, so we're gonna have to vote.
and we didn't vote for one on the Seaboard one. Personally, I'm not gonna, either be no or voting on this one, but that's I'll say that up front, but we gotta vote, we gotta make it. So.
Right.
This is just about the hearing. We're not
This is about
voting
the
the
public hearing.
project, yes or no, we're just voting on the hearing. You can vote yes or no for the hearing.
Any more discussion?
Let's wait for this project. Next step, yay or nay?
So all those in favor? Aye.
Sorry, no, I've heard too many people
That's okay.
anti it, so.
That's okay.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, motion doesn't carry.
I'm the attorney for the applicant, Rob Panache, Young Summer. So what are we, we've been here for months now, just trying to understand, is that no to a public hearing or is it no to the amendment?
No to the
Let us
public
know.
hearing. It's a no to the public hearing for December 12th.
So then what?
We'll see December 12th, I guess. There's some more information that the board is looking for. And they can set a date in December. If they want to set a date for a public hearing on a local law.
I mean, if we have three members here that are already a no on the amendment, I'm just trying to know, should we come back on the 12th or should we wait to January? It's, I understand the fairness question, right? It's, but it is time and money for us to travel here every month just to have an idea.
Well, why don't you and I talk over the course of the next week or so, and I'll get a sense of where I think the board is. And we can decide, you can decide next month whether you want to come or not, based on the conversation. I don't think the discussion tonight was no on the project. It was no on the public hearing for next month, based on the fact that there's a new board coming in. New members of the board coming in after January, and they potentially want them to weigh in on it. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that accurate?
It's accurate for some.
Uh-huh.
For anybody who knows what's been going on with the election. For the moment, I'll bring that in. It's gonna be, it's gonna go nowhere next year, so I wouldn't waste your time. Is what I'm telling you. Because they're not gonna, if this is what you have with this board. You're not gonna get any better with the next board, and let's just be honest about it, let's be real. If it's not gonna happen this year, that we even give them a public hearing, even give the project a public hearing. Then a public hearing isn't gonna happen next year, for certain. So, that would be my advice to you.
Thank you for your honesty.
You're welcome. I might as well, because it's an elephant in the room that nobody wants to say. Say it. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the short-term rental. Local law that we had a public hearing on last. Over time. Yeah, close the public hearing. And. I think you all have a copy. I wanted to go over the short-term rental with you. I significantly. So, and it doesn't change the substance of the short-term rental local law that was the subject of the public hearing. What we did was remove the enforcement section from this local law, because there's already enforcement language in the code. So it doesn't make any sense to have well, not even a duplicate, but something that might even be contrary. We want to make sure that the enforcement is consistent. Yeah, thank you. So it really doesn't change anything, just makes it a little bit shorter. The only thing, if we, so we need to decide if we were ready to vote on this. Just want to double check. I don't think I changed anything else. Didn't change anything, I just. But the rest of it is the
the substance of what we had a public hearing on last month.
Well, I reread the whole thing and I don't see any problems with it. I think we read it. It's basic, it's not nitpicky, it's just basic, you know. Others,
Oh, I did change, I changed a little bit of language in F1. Just that section is the very beginning of where the requirements are for a short-term rental, and it talks about properties not to be rented to more than two persons per bedroom plus two people. No event shall, and this is the part that I changed, shall exceed the maximum capacity load as determined pursuant to the fire inspection in D3C, which was the section that just says as part of your application, you have to show that you had a fire inspection done with an occupancy load as part of it. So I just referenced back to that section. I did change that. And I actually saw a posting on the internet of a property here that already does short-term rental. That had guidelines already, so I'm not sure that it was a lot, but it was something. As far as requiring that owners provide rules and regulations that relate to curfew, noise, parties, parking, trash disposal. Other than that, that's it. And oh, well, in the enforcement section G, all of that language out, and I just said that a violation of any of the provisions of this section shall be subject to employment. Then I referenced section 165-47. So Nancy, are you okay with that I did that? We're part of the committee. Yes, it just makes it easier. And we didn't need him to begin with. That was the thing, and all that.
We're technically amending it, is that what or is this the law? So.
No, this would be the law. Yes, we did. Yeah. Yes, we did. And then I don't know if we did seeker.
I thought we did.
I think we did. We did seeker on this. No, we did seeker on this.
We didn't do it. We didn't do it on the whole application.
No, we
We haven't even got that one there. Yes, we did. We're ready for that. Vote for the law, right?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to vote on this short-term rental local law. 20,
We don't have-
23 dash.
Is it one?
6.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's
The last.
Oh. Local law amending chapter 165 to amend article 4 supplemental regulations to and create new section 165-14.1 that regulates the use of short-term rentals in the town of Powney. That home state.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? I heard you say you think it's fair, so. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So that motion's carried, that local law is passed. The only thing we really need to do now that it's passed is set a fee for the permit. I started to work on an application form based on what's required in here, but I haven't got it. So I don't think the fee needs to be significant. Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't need to be a lot. It's gonna be for 3 years, a 3-year term.
One fee for 3 years.
3 years.
Then there'd be another.
And then you'd have to reapply, and your permit would expire at the end of 3 years. So I don't think it needs to be a lot. It's just a matter of making, of like having.
Just a record.
Cover the administrative costs.
Exactly.
Just a record that's.
So you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. The fee would be $25 for 3 years.
I'll
The
second it.
application fee.
Diana seconds it, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So the motion is carried, the fee for the short-term rental registration will be $25. Okay. So. Next on the list is, an initial, presentation on. And first, let me back up for just a second. The short-term rental committee is invaluable. You all did a great job. Nancy's here. And.
No, I wasn't on this. Oh, wait,
Short-term rental,
short-term, yes.
Yes. And I'm thinking we.
I saw you there, Ann.
Kevin Corson from the planning board and Adam Scalisi from DCC, and then we also had Helen Bailey. So we had a real nice mix of people, everybody worked together, and this is what we came up with. We're not trying to, as I think Rich, you said last time, we're not trying to overregulate. We're just trying to make sure that the public, that this is done safely and that the neighbors don't come back and complain. So moving on.
No.
The home-based business. We changed, the committee that worked on this was started off with a committee of 7, we went back to 6, and then we added a committee member. If any of you were here, you remember that, the gentleman who came up here and wanted to be part of the committee because he had been affected by, he was basically in limbo, not being able to get his business going. So we added him to the committee. It was myself, James, Carl Fahrenkrug is in the back of the room, from the planning board. Stan Hack was a private citizen, Joel Sheely is a private citizen. Helen Bailey was on it again, and then on this committee as well, and then Matt Foote, who is the person with the business. So it was a really nice blend of people, and we worked hard on this. We did 10 versions of this law, coming up with what we came up with. And I will say that the whole point of this, and it's important to remember, this was a law on the books. It's not something new. It's nothing new. It's been there. It just hasn't had a process by which it could be implemented, which is what started this. When people came to the town wanting to apply, and then we didn't have a process. So that's how it started. We worked really hard. We recognize that there are lots of home-based businesses that exist already in this town. Some of them are not even going to be impacted. Most of them are not even going to be impacted by this. What we tried to do was set a standard. This is, I don't know, Veronica, if you got a chance, this is hot off the presses, this.
I haven't.
Yeah, so I was,
Anything today.
okay. So, we have a section in here that's a standard for a home-based business that would allow a business at a residence to operate as of right. So you don't have to come to the town. You don't have to, if you meet this criteria, you're good to go. We don't need to know about you. If you don't meet this standard, there is a section, the process would be, it doesn't mean you can't, it just means that you have to come to the town for approval. So the purpose of the section with the standards was to make them so that they would reflect the character of the neighborhood, so it wouldn't be changing the neighborhood, and that it would not be impactful on your neighbors. While at the same time recognizing that home-based businesses are, not only are they vital, but they're up and coming. I think there's just a movement afoot to have businesses home-based, but they have to be compatible with the residential neighborhood. And this law will only apply to non-commercial properties. That's why it exists, because we have commercial space in this town, both commercial and Hamlet commercial. Mostly Hamlet commercial, but we don't, this is not applicable to that. It's applicable to residential. So that said, I don't know, James. We worked really hard on this. We do have a section in here where there's certain businesses that would be prohibited, wouldn't be allowed. And we went back and forth on this list.
That was probably where most of our time
Yeah,
was spent.
yeah,
Was on.
trying to figure out what would allow,
And that list is
not
a
a-
lot smaller than it was when we
Yep.
started.
yes, and we just threw in the kitchen sink as far as like trying to consider all possibilities, and then we pared it down. So, the planning board would be the mechanism for approval if you have to come to the town for approval. But it would not require a full-blown process where you have to have a survey and site plan and all of that. You can, it would be allowed to. The application would basically include specifying what your business use is and how it conforms to the intent of the law, which is that it not have an impact on the community and the residential nature. But, so there is a section in here as well on sunsetting, so anyone who has a business that doesn't meet the criteria where you can operate as of right will have 180 days to come into the town and talk to the codes officer, basically, and make application. So as I said, this is nothing new. It's just actually putting a process in place for these businesses. So James, want to jump in? Want to say anything? I know you do.
I mean, yeah, I mean, what we really were lacking before was a permitting process. There were already, which there were several things that were already prohibited and said they couldn't be done at the last law, but there were also places where there should have been a permitting process, which never got finalized, to make it very simple. So we have, and this one here, we've tried to, for the most part, maintain the same limits that were on the law before, but made a permitting process for some of the ones that could be considered marginal will still be able to, a marginal impact, I guess is how you would word it. It's like in some places, Pompey's a big place. It's got some places you have neighbors half-mile away. Other places you are in a spot where you're right next door to a house. So there's places that are appropriate for a home business. And there are other places that are not, depending on the neighbors that you have and the situation. And that's what the permitting process is for. So it come before the planning board and there will be basically probably a public hearing or comment type thing. So what if the neighbors are, hey, we don't want this business, they have a chance to say that, and or they have a chance to say, oh, this is a great, we like our neighbors, we want to have this business, and that should hopefully make it. And then there's an actual paper trail to, let's get this permit. So we aren't years down the line wondering, oh, this one here it was okay according to Joe Blow, but there's no paper trail to prove that it was okay. And at some point, this is gonna go to public hearing, and I'm sure there's gonna be lots of comments, which I wanna listen to, the board here is to decide the thing, but as a committee, I mean, the people that this was a great committee. I wanna say that I learned a lot, and I was very impressed by that whole committee and process, and it was just a great bunch of people to work with, and again, this thing here came from a consensus of putting everything together. It wasn't one person saying, oh, this is what I want, another person want that. We all made compromises and came up with, this was the best thing we could do, and that group of people coming together, and now we're gonna have to do the same thing at the board, more or less. Maybe this is exactly it. Maybe there's a tweak or two. That's up for the board and for hear from public comment. If there's gonna be changes, but I think it's a pretty solid thing in the end. So having been a part of it.
Carl, you want to say anything, Carl Fahrenkrug? You don't have to, but he's our planning board member and he was really a very big help.
one of the things that I had mentioned when we had our all of the iterations on this is that it was far more complicated than I think that anybody thought it was going to be when we started. But the important thing to recognize, this is a local law, it's not a federal law, and if it's not perfect, public comment and revisions obviously over time can take place. Something that's very complicated probably should have been addressed, I guess, earlier. But we had to address it at this point in time, and I agree. I think the committee did a fantastic job.
So that said, the bottom line is, this is a draft. I think this might have a little bit more there might be a little bit more input from the public. We would welcome it because we recognize coming out of the committee that it could be tweaked, and so we did the best we could with coming up with what we thought would be a viable solution to replacing the language that's in our code. But it's open for obviously public discussion. And I think I will say, James, you said it, consensus. It was refreshing to have a group that was willing to compromise in this day and age where people just get very set in their ways and don't compromise. And this group compromised on a lot of things.
I think everybody in the whole group made some compromises on particular things or other, but it was definitely a whole group effort. Yeah.
So that said, what do we do for, I don't know if any questions, any comments?
Well done.
Thank you.
We have to have one more thing in order to do a public, or how do we schedule it?
Don't know a lot.
Usually I provide a resolution for the public hearing, but you can set a date for a public hearing based on this.
Okay.
I will memorialize that in a form resolution, and I'll send it to Nikki tomorrow. Simply would just set the date for the public hearing for this.
I mean, do we want to do that or do we want to, I don't,
I think
This
I'm
needs,
ready.
this needs to go to county planning too, right?
That's okay. Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
So, it was meant, we tried to keep it as simple as possible.
It's short, I like that.
Right, it was meant to
I think it's good.
not scare anyone away, because that's not the point. We don't want people going around trying to do stuff. Because otherwise we're gonna be right back here with complaints. So, it was meant to try and as best we can to really, come up with something, and it's meant to be home-based. That's.
Yeah, you have to live on the property to have the business. It isn't designed for you to have a business property but not live there. It's designed, it is complaint based as far as enforced. We're not sending out the police
The
looking
code
around.
squad.
Yeah, you're not going out checking everybody's property and say, oh, do you have a business there? If a neighbor complains about something, then the codes guy is going to investigate. And if it's warranted, he'll decide if there's something or he'll decide there's not. So I guess that's right. And that,
Right.
you
So
know,
it's not, there's nothing in here that's where we're looking to proactively enforce. But what was interesting is on Discover Pompey, the list of businesses in this town.
It's not even all.
I know, if you only knew how many, there's so many businesses here that you don't even know exist. And that's the point of a home-based business, is that it's a seamless addition to the neighborhood. Doesn't have an impact or very low impact. So it's amazing how many businesses. I printed that off when we used it in our meeting.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you think about grandfathering any? I mean, I came up with 8 people that have had businesses, big businesses for years.
Well-
Construction and auto repairs.
So where do you draw the line?
I mean, I was just curious.
Yeah, I know, but that's
It's-
The problem is that if they were operating a business without getting the approval of the town through the old home occupation law, then they were not properly operating a home business in the residential area. So it's hard to grandfather somebody who wasn't following the law in the first place.
I mean, this one guy I know, he has been in business probably 30 years.
Well, he might be
Is he
before zoning.
Or zone?
If he was before well, it might be before I think this was enacted in 2002, and don't quote me on that because I'm off the top of my head. If you were operating a home-based business, if you were operating something before the law took effect, that would be somebody who could be grandfathered, but anybody.
Unless our code said in a residential district, these are the only uses allowed, and if you were operating a business in a residential district that didn't allow anything but homes, then you were in violation of the town code. So this is an exception to our
Permitted
uses.
uses. Gotcha.
So
This is
there is a
not gonna-
provision here that talks about, and I think Renee mentioned it, the sunset clause, so
Yep.
that if somebody wants to come in who has been operating and get a permit, then they'd be allowed to, but we have to continue to remember, residential districts are not for businesses. And that's why we have.
When you say residential farm district,
No, that's not.
No.
that's not right.
but if they're doing it in a farm zone area.
But again, you have to look at the definitions of what's
What's
allowed in
allowed in
what's
there.
allowed in a farm zone.
You can-
And because our zoning is usually, if you're not in it, you're prohibited. If the use is not allowed, then it's prohibited. That's how most zoning is set up.
Before everybody, and I already know this has happened because I've already heard it. Has jumped to conclusions about what we're trying to do. Read the law first before you and it will be posted on the website. It was hot off the presses. So Veronica, I sent it to you this afternoon, but I knew you didn't get it hard, but it will be on the website. So please reserve judgment on what we're doing until you read it. You don't want zoning in the town. Other than that, it's a balancing. I've said that so many times and so is Tim, sitting up here, it's great. It's easy to have an opinion one way or the other when you're out there. When you're up here, you gotta balance.
Oh,
So-
and the reason to get this into us in public hearing or comment is, and I don't care if it takes a couple months work, but is to start getting all this comments and to start working through some of
Right.
what it, could be like, get the facts better. And then if there are some exact issues of, okay, well, do we want to address this one particular thing or we, as a board, we can decide if we want to change anything or if we're just gonna keep it at, that's a.
Right, we tweaked the solar law how many times? Every time we had a public hearing, we went back and tweaked it. Till it was to.
I'd like to see us move forward at least to the public hearing
Yeah,
stage, so
me
that
too.
we can get it done, so some of these people have been waiting to start.
That's
Get going. so-
That's the problem, is there's people in limbo that are waiting to
And that's,
apply.
and that's all we got too, is the committee too, is like, we really had to get something forward soon, so. Some people that are trying to do everything the right way and get the permits and do it, let them get back to doing their thing.
Right, and the moratorium will end in January at some point, I think. I don't know, it's 6 months, because I think we imposed it in July. I forget, anyway. All right, so I would make a motion that we schedule a public hearing on, for December 12th on this, we're switching the name from home occupation to home-based business. This home-based business local law. Schedule it for 6:35. Bill seconded it. Seconded it. Any discussion? More? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So 12 and 6:35. You go. So now we're back to Tim.
I think everybody has a copy of the supervisor's report. Any questions or comments on that? I'll set the board, motion to approve the supervisor's report, correct, over?
I'll make a motion to approve the supervisor's October report.
Diana seconds it, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Same with the bank reconciliation for the supervisors checking account for October.
Make a motion to accept the bank reconciliation for the town supervisor for October.
Bill seconded it, discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just a few highlights, not a ton of revenue last month. I think we brought in about $6,500 in revenue. For the rest of the year, it's been quiet. We've one more franchise fee installment, which is about $20,000. Mortgage tax is yet to come in. It should be late December, early January. Hopefully it's about $80,000. Big month for expenses. We were, cash outflows were about $415,000. Biggest chunk of that was the highway garage roof, $204,000. The road paving was about $85,000. The rest was your typical recurring expenses. Interest income for the month was about $8,800. It's down. We've been earning about $13,000, but with the large cash outflows for the roof and other things, we've been drawing down on an I-class account. So that's going to be expected, kind of continue to trend down for the rest of the year. Should pop back up next year once property taxes start to come in. In terms of budget, we're on track. There's going to be a few minor modifications both this month and next month. Keep us in line, but we're in very good shape. A lot of room, a lot of wiggle room. Speaking of budget modifications, there's two this month. The first is to account for the use of ARPA funds for Hamlet signage. We're going to use $4,505 of ARPA funds to cover that expenditure. Looking forward to making a motion to approve that.
Second.
And seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Second one is to account for the new water system that was installed at the town. The cost of this is $6,190. That's to be funded by a grant from Ottawa County, which is about 2/3 of the cost, which is $4,642.50. And the remainder is going to come from our contingent line, $1,547.50. Make a motion to approve that.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
And seconded discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have.
Nikki's up next.
I'm looking for board acceptance of the October 10th regular meeting minutes and the October 30th special meeting minutes.
I would make a motion to accept those.
Bank reconciliation reports for October 2023 for town clerk and tax collector.
And reconciliations, the council tax collector for October.
Diana second. Discussion, all those in favor?
The board has had the chance to review the vouchers I prepared. I'm looking for a motion for the payment of bills.
Where are the bills?
I have some of them down here.
We have them all over the place because there's something else. Somebody needs signing. Oh, it's. Yes, these are all signed, so these can go to. There are. Nikki, what?
Yeah, I'll make a list.
503, 508. 531. 543. It's 4 of them. For some reason, our highway superintendent did not sign them. So, yeah, so they need his signature. And I don't know if we can approve them, we approve them and then subject to his signature. Sure. Okay, so I'm gonna give these to you because
So
he
I can
needs
do
to
some
sign.
sparkles.
And then 504. Is missing, it's another highway bill, but it's missing 2 of the 3 vouchers that show
No, they should be all set.
Is that fixed?
Yeah, so
You
what-
fixed it.
Yeah, what happened there, it's correcting the system. I
Oh,
think that voucher was just printed before,
Yeah.
the other two invoices were
Jim
added
fixed
in.
it, just needed our signatures.
All right, let me just put my name. Okay, so this then can go back to you, so never mind about that one, it's just those four, Nikki, that
Okay.
need his signature, but. I would make a motion to. Subject to. As is, but subject to be our signature on those four. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. A lot of bills.
Was about your 517 found, you have that, or is that this true value for?
Man, it's true value, the one I said was missing.
Oh, there is one that's.
Such a value come across, right?
Yeah, there was one.
Where's the ads?
I think it's on the second.
The second page.
517?
Mhm.
Is there a 517?
More than one true value.
Guys took them out of order, so.
So it's for- I put all of the.
That's so we can torture you. Is there another true value one in here?
Is that the holdover one from last month that we,
There was,
517 and
No, it isn't.
518.
yeah. 518 is no, that's the void one.
But
It's
we
not a-
talked, Jim, you and I talked about 517 and 518. So 517.
I looked through it 3 times, I didn't see it, so.
There's a second true value for five,
But it's a
number
different.
540, but it's only for $5.99.
I think we deleted 517. I can check.
Okay. No, that wasn't what, that email was about,
OC bond.
yeah.
No, from the guy.
No, but. Ted,
Williams,
sorry. What's that? Well,
We can check on 517.
okay. 518 is going to be deleted, but 517, here, I'm gonna give that back to Jim.
Yep, so the last thing I have is Town of Pompey and the Pompey Historical Society. We do our annual tree lighting every year. So that's gonna be on Sunday, December 3rd at 2 o'clock at the Pompey Town Hall. It's not gonna be across the street. It's easier and it's warmer, safer. So the normal fun festivities, garlands, tree lighting, refreshments. We have a secret visitor coming around 2:30. So it's a really fun community event. We hope as many people can come, young at heart, anyone who wants to come, we have a great time. Flyers will be distributed. They'll be around town. They'll be on our website. They'll be on Facebook. And really just word of mouth.
Okay, great.
Hey, Nick, we have a pancake breakfast this Sunday. You get me some flyers, I can.
That would be great. I'll print these off. I was just waiting for Ann Shelley to approve them. I made the flyers today, but as long as she's good with them, I'll get them for you. Other than that, that's,
It's always fun.
it is always
Yeah,
fun. We
fun.
have so much fun.
It is fun.
And it'll be nicer over here.
Email me the flyer, I'll put it on.
Oh,
this
thank
other
you,
copy.
Nancy. Perfect.
It's, last year's big, for some reason, like guessing the number of M&Ms, and I forget what we had in the other jar. We had 2 jars
Oh,
with
that was
M&Ms.
It was
Those kids were so into it. They were trying to figure out. I actually think did you won, not you.
No wonder he thought it was fun.
Right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I think one of them did
Yeah. My home, it's
a little bit of, and it was doing the counting them out. They figured we're in each row and figured how many rows up there would have been. That was a man.
very methodical about it.
They were serious about trying to figure out. And I wanna say that the thing that we did on, I think it was cool, the pumpkin contest, I mean, that thing we did
Yes.
on Facebook there, I thought that, again, I love them little fun things.
The ECC is trying to do one of those every quarter. Like put something out for contest of some sort every quarter, but, so, yeah.
Well, I want to
Pumpkin
throw
storage.
I want to throw a plug. I thought that was cool. They did a
Yeah.
flower, they did some like, what was it? Like take pictures of your flowers or something earlier in the year. May I think that's
Yes.
spring.
Yeah.
So, man, yeah, I love those little cute things that
That's it for me, yeah.
Highway super. This is not the highway
First,
super.
yeah, Pierre apologizes for not being able to make it tonight. It's a volleyball game. But there are some items that he would like to move to surplus so that he can put them out at auction. And hopefully get those sold before the end of the year. The first one is truck number 0144, which is a 2000 International 10-wheel cab chassis with a dump body. This truck was replaced with the 2023 Freightliner, which was Tracy Road recently. The second item is truck number 1424, which is 2013 F-150 pickup truck. This truck was replaced with a 2018 Chevy half-ton. We purchased the new Chevy 3/4 ton truck. So two trucks that he wants to put into surplus so they can go out for auction.
Those have both been replaced already, so.
Yeah. So
I'll make a motion, right? You have to make a motion for that.
Declare them surplus.
Declare those two trucks, right? Two trucks surplus. So they can be auctioned.
I'll second that. You got other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We can certainly use any extra revenue we can find. Everybody got the codes officers report. I am amazed at how many certificates of completion happened in October, 21.
He's been very
He
busy.
has been working.
He has been so
I know.
busy.
I was actually talking to him earlier today, and he said he's gotten 100 of them already this year.
I wish, I do have a question on one of them, but he also has issued 14 permits, and you would think at this point in time, they might be slowing down, but 14 permits in that priority spot too. There's one property on here that's owned by an LLC that I'm curious about, because they're putting up home runs. I want to know what they're doing. But, and I don't see any principal structure there. But I'll have to wait to ask him about that. Okay.
He said the permits don't generally stop in December because everybody's getting ready for spring.
There's
So the permits will keep
October,
going.
you mean? Oh, you mean, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Oh, you mean the people that plan?
When he does the permits, is he looking at for things like that? When if there's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask him, because we talked about that property on Bush Road and, I don't know what he found. Because he knew it wasn't owned by a person, it was owned by an LLC. A lot of property owned by LLCs these days. Okay, town attorney, I sent you that monster agreement, but it really,
It's a standard agreement.
Yeah.
It's a standard, the kind of. We do send all of our solid waste to most. The only, and the main change has always been the tipping fee, and the tipping fee on recyclables back to $40. Tipping fee for municipal solid waste, I think is $105. That's the $4 for that we've said forever, so we get a break for. So those are the differences. I don't think it's much different from last year in terms of tipping fees.
no, I don't think it is either. I think the recycling thing is what. Changing. Right?
Yeah, $40.
Yeah.
But it amazed me how long this contract is.
Oh, I didn't give you all the attachments. You want to see the whole thing? There you go. I could have let you read all of that.
I got all this.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with Okra.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Nikki, I'll give you this to you, but probably tomorrow, because I gotta fill in some of the blanks. Ann, you want to talk about
We
Test
finished
question.
our last audit for the state's form that we did, Renee and I went through Nikki's town clerk and tax collecting for 2023, for 2022. So we've done all of them per the state. It's a recommendation. So I'll make them, do we accept those?
I think we have to accept them and then you send them in.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute, I've got the originals here. somewhere. So does somebody want to make a motion?
We could go for it. Motion, we accept the audit of the town clerk and tax collector.
I'll second it.
Okay, this is for 2022.
Yeah, they want to sign those two. You,
Do I need to sign it? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
You're gonna train next week, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Yeah. I make copies of all what you have to do, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so supervisor's report is short and sweet. There's a resolution in your folders for, to authorize the supervisor to sign, the Central New York Regional Planning Agreement for Stormwater Coalition Services, and to appoint our town engineer, John Dunkel, as a representative authorized to act on our behalf, on all things Stormwater Coalition. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve authorization of supervisor and stormwater coalition resolutions.
I see it, but where do you sign?
I think it's, no, it didn't. I don't, it's, I don't, this is not the agreement. I don't actually don't have. No, I probably, all right, well,
So we're authorizing this.
okay, it's standard. It doesn't change. It's the only thing that changes is the year. The fee is, the cost is the same. Well, this is actually, I think this suffices. You send this to CNY Regional Planning and Development. This is what they consider as we've agreed to participate.
The resolution.
Yeah. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that motion's carried. And then finally, I have been asking for this for 6 months. This is the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office Enhanced Services Agreement for 23. So I have been asking for this because we usually get it. We don't usually get it in January, but we usually get it in the first few months, so we know what the rate is and everything. So this is an addendum to the original agreement. That simply, the only thing that changes is the term, which is this year, and the cost, which for this year was $88.79 an hour. But with it, as far as I'm concerned, with having security at the court and some road patrol, it is very difficult to get special details now since COVID. Because a lot of sheriff's deputies don't sign up for them anymore. So if they don't sign up, because it's overtime, we don't, even if I request, it's hard sometimes to get them out here, but we'll see, maybe that changed too. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize me to sign.
Make a motion to authorize Renee to sign the 2023 municipal agreement with the sheriff. For the sheriff's department.
Second that.
Any seconds and any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Hey. What did
Now they better not give me.
It's not the officer. Yeah, that's, wow. But it is
Only be told when I.
I haven't caught me in a few years.
Anybody else want to hand in their folder? I'll take it. Public comment.
First, John Chicken. 279 Gulf Road.
Pass these around. I was gonna pretty much, I will preface this by saying I'm gonna send a copy of the statement to all the board members, but, as many of you know, but I'm gonna read it for expediency, just on in the best interest of time. As many of you know, my name is John Shaheen. I've lived at 2798 Gulf Road for almost 45 years. I've been on the planning board for over 20 years. I've served on a number of committees over the years, including the master plan committee in 2012. In 2019, I was asked by Carol Marsh to chair the committee charged by the then town board to write zoning code dealing with solar farms, a committee that Carol also served on. At the end of her tenure, the law was 99% complete. First of all, I want to respond to the concerns voiced by Carl Fahrenkrug in a recent town board meeting. I was not on that distribution, but I did end up getting a copy of the letter and the town board meeting. There was a letter regarding his vote on the pivot energy proposal, his allegation of potential conflict between the master plan and the solar overlay zoning code, as well as his concerns regarding risks to the town, in particular in regards to decommissioning. The Harvard Business Review, the HBR paper that Carl cited, is 2.5 years old. It's alarmist and in a number of regards presents information that is not in keeping with present day reality regarding solar energy and the anticipated waste stream associated with it. The scenario of trading in panels early and therefore dramatically increasing the associated waste stream is just not happening. Last week, I happened to speak to a friend who was the market development manager for one of the largest solar installers in New York State. And he confirmed that the early trade-in scenario is indeed a very rare occurrence. Even with subsidies, the incentive to avoid electrical usage by offsetting it with solar, that's the incentive. There's really little to no incentive to install significantly more solar than what's required to power your home in order to sell the excess back to the utility. As stated in the HBR article, as put forth in that article, you'd be better off investing that money in the stock market. I've included more up-to-date reference. I've given you a graphic from that link. A key quote from the article that graphic came from, quote unquote, concerns about an increase in solar panel waste need to be placed in the context of how the amount of waste compares to other sources. Projections of panel waste are a drop in the ocean compared to waste categories like plastics, coal ash, and municipal solid waste, and are also much less than e-waste like old phones and computers. The vast quantity of waste from all of those sources is a concern, and we need to find ways to reduce waste, but solar panels are not a major issue in that larger conversation. On the positive side, the HBR article did point out some important considerations in regards to potential recycling and waste stream management, which fortunately are being addressed as we speak. Specifically, a broad coalition of industry associations are currently working with state and federal agencies, such as US EPA, to arrive at sustainable end-of-life solutions for recycling of PV panels. Right now, approximately 82% of installed PV panels are less than 7 years old. That gives us 10 to 20 years to improve on the end-of-life treatment. Expectations are that 95% of the materials in a PV panel can ultimately be reclaimed. Currently, a number of recycling companies, including Bruin Recycling up in Liverpool, Sun King Recycling in Brockport, accept PV panels for recycling. And I've got about 8 others here throughout the country that will be included. The links for those will be included in the document that's sent. It's important to note that the 25-year lifespan talked about for solar panels is primarily concerned with the production guarantee offered by the manufacturer. Based on that guarantee, the panel will still be producing 80 to 85% of its rated output power at the 25-year mark.
The panels can, in many cases, go on for a couple more decades, producing power at that level. Currently, manufacturers are working on panel technology, which would potentially yield a 50-year production guarantee. Based on that, there is also a secondary market for used panels or refurbished panels in a number of countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, which also provides financial incentive for recycling. This leads me to what appears to be another significant concern, the decommissioning of Tier 3 solar. As you know, our town law states the town shall hire an independent engineer, presumably a licensed PE, at the applicant's cost to provide a written report before construction begins that determines the cost of removal and restoration of the and the bond amount necessary to secure these costs. That bond is to be reviewed every 5 years by an independent engineer, which will be paid for by the applicant. John. Bear with me, or
No,
That's 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're gonna submit that to us?
yeah, let me just.
Can you summarize like quickly
Yeah,
the,
this
it's not fair, we.
On the master plan, in his letter, Carl brings up concerns regarding his perception that there are conflicts between the master plan and the solar law. In my opinion, this is clearly not the case. The intent of the master plan was to create a framework of recommendations and guidelines to assist the Pompey Town Board in implementing laws and zoning codes to address a number of priorities, including preservation of agricultural land, open space, protection of scenic beauty. The conclusions, item 5, the community has generally embraced alternative energy, including wind, solar, and geothermal. The recommendation.
Really, I have to ask you, it's not fair. We really do hold people to 5 minutes and I'm sorry, but if you're gonna submit that, we will look at it. All right, thank you. Thank you, Judge.
That's Nadella, 2871 SD.
I did, you mentioned earlier in the meeting about not wanting to saddle the next administration with financial liabilities. I would just ask that if I anticipate that this homeownership or home business thing is going to be controversial. I would just ask that if the decision made on that be made by the next board, because we're gonna have to deal with that, the fallout from that. Thank you.
Next is Ivan Fuller, 3915 Route.
Route 91.
Sorry.
Basically, I have to change everything that I was gonna say. I would just like to say to you, Renee, that at the fire meeting that we had there, you brought up a lot of points. I was very happy to hear what you said, a lot of things that were important. I think a lot of people missed. I was glad to see that a lot of people showed. I was hoping that we would see a lot more. There's a lot of taxes that are gonna be changed in this town between the school and the electric buses. In the fire department, I would hope that a lot more people would pay attention to the fire department, because I believe they're gonna push that vote on us on the 12th anyways. I don't think they're gonna pay attention to what the people said.
They just put a notice out today, or I saw it today. They're not doing 13 million, it's 500,000.
But it's
To
for,
do plans, environmental studies.
That's an awful lot there.
it-
Also,
are they gonna have a hearing on that? Do you know?
12.
Is that a public hearing or a vote?
that's the vote.
I think that's the vote, is
Yeah,
it?
That's the
I don't
date
know.
that they have to do the vote.
I don't know how you can change I don't know. It's them.
Whether it was accidental or on purpose, this was kind of sliding it by the public, and it looks a little shady to me.
Well, I give them credit, they're all volunteers.
I understand.
You know, I mean,
that.
it's
I have
hard
a lot of
for,
respect for those guys. They do a hard
Yeah, so-
job.
but I also don't know if you can hold a vote when you haven't allowed the public to have input on a different bond or however, whatever their issue is. I mean, what they originally had the public hearing on last Friday night, Friday night on on Veterans Day weekend, but
was for a $12.8 million plan, and now they're saying, well, whatever, yeah, you know what I mean, 13 million. Oh, I'm supposed to be able to read that? No, you don't. You read that. You read that.
Let's take notice, the annual election of the Pompey Hill Fire District, it's for the two commissioners. And then to approve the bond resolution adopted by the Board of the Fire Commissioners authorizing preparation of plans, surveys, environmental scoping and review, and all other matters necessary to the pre-construction planning for a new fire station project at a maximum estimated cost of $500,000.
So I will talk to Ty, the chair of the commission, because that's not what the public hearing was on. And I know you don't do fire districts, maybe you do.
Well,
but
it doesn't make, I can't imagine anybody would bond for $500,000 because the costs are gonna be just.
And they didn't, I don't know when they approved it, because they met in October, we were in.
They may have held a public hearing on it, and because they're gonna be bonding for less than what they publish, maybe, I don't know, but.
Well, I'll have to find out. That's very much.
Next is Trevor Marsteller. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Finally, 1832 Pompey Center Road.
Just a question, where can I see the published, section 165 dot 14-1? I believe it'll be published shortly, the short-term rental.
Yeah, it'll be on the website. There is a version of it there, but it's the longer version. We cut out all the code enforcement length so that it just refers to the section in the code that does have the enforcement provisions, but the shortened version, Veronica, as I said, she should be able to, she'll get it up there, but the longer version is there. You just don't read about the enforcement.
Sure.
You know, it's the same document. Why, are you gonna do a short-term rental?
I currently own a short-term rental.
You-
not in Pompey. I just moved to Pompey, a couple months ago.
Okay.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Great, yeah.
And if anyone's ever driving down Pompey Center, 1832, big
Yeah.
yellow one up on the hill, come by
Oh,
and
I
say,
know where you are.
come by and say hi. And, I do sincerely mean that, so please,
That used
love
to
to meet you.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, Richard Margino, Henneberry Road.
I just want to congratulate the new elected officials that won the recent election. Mark Nardella, Diana Carpenter, Dave Angelo. I hope I want to wish them a lot of luck in the new town board, and I hope that they make good level-headed decisions for everyone in the town, not just a specific agenda, but for every resident of the town. I also want to give a thank you to Renee for serving our town for the past 4 years. It's not easy making tough decisions for the town. When I first started coming to board meetings, me and Renee didn't agree politically on a lot of different issues, and I came across as kind of rude and a little bit disrespectful at first, and I want to sincerely apologize, and I want to thank you for serving our community. It is a tough job, and thank you.
You're welcome.
And,
Accepted.
Third issue, obviously very controversial, local fire department in Pompey Hill. I paid probably close to $15,000 a year in property taxes. I want my taxes going up. No one doing anybody in this room want their taxes going up. But after visiting the fire department multiple times, meeting with a couple of fire officials and going on a tour of the fire department, I see that there is a disarray of the actual building. The back of the building, there's plastic covering the doors because there's a severe mold issue. There's leaking roofs. There's asbestos, there's inadequate showers. I personally come from a family of firefighters. My father was a retired New York City firefighter. My grandfather, 98 years old. He's a New York City firefighter. So these firemen are volunteers. They're not getting paid anything, and they serve and protect our community. And God forbid there is a fire in your home, that wasn't going to come to your house and save your life. So it is very important that they have the proper facility, the proper equipment, and from what I understand, they said that it would cost more to renovate the existing building versus build a new building. So I think a lot of people are very negative about the situation because they don't want the taxes increasing, but I think there should be some type of positivity towards the whole situation. We gotta find out more specifics, and the public needs to find out more. So that might be a better resolution to build a new fire department.
Well, I think what they're doing, which is pulling back from the overall project and,
Yeah.
trying to put some money towards plans.
Yeah,
Is an effort to get nobody doesn't want to support them. Everybody wants to
yeah.
support them.
I mean, they said
They
that
need to give us something.
the response time would be better because they're gonna shift the garage doors to Henneberry versus Academy because of the way the road is divided. And just a lot of things that I think the public should really know to make it more positive. Instead of
Yep,
negativity.
I agree.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Martha Vigliotti,
I think she left.
and Alma Hartnett.
Renee, December is going to be a busy meeting, so I want to say thank you for the time you spent. We're not on the same party politically, but we've always been friends, and it's been a pleasure having you. And you'll be excited being retired and stuff. It's a laugh because you never really retire.
No, are you
But
kidding?
thank you.
Thank you, Alma.
This one. Yeah, thank you, Alma. That was very nice.
Hi, Nancy Furdock, Sevier Road. Are we not doing that anymore? I don't remember.
Oh, I didn't remember.
Not the only town he handles.
I also want to congratulate our newly elected officials, Dave and Mark and Diana. And I wanted to ask a question about the distinction. You, Renee, you had said that the home occupation law doesn't apply to commercial businesses. Commercial property.
Commercially zoned properties.
So what is the distinction between a commercial business and a home-based business? And what happens to if there are commercial businesses currently operating on residential properties, what happens with those? Does this new law affect that in any way?
So commercial properties, we have a commercial zone in the town of Pompey. Businesses should be run in a commercial.
Right.
zone. We have residential zone in the town of Pompey. We have R40 and we have residential. The uses in those zones should be residential.
Understood.
The home occupation law makes an exception in residential properties, residentially zoned properties, to allow you to have a home occupation permit under certain circumstances.
Understand all that. I guess my question, Ann had brought up someone who's operating an auto repair shop. Is that considered commercial?
Well, first of
Or is
all,
that a home?
automotive services are a completely separate special use section in the town code. So
Okay.
you have to look at that.
Okay.
It's anticipated if you read it. And if you look at the charts in the back on permitted uses in what districts, automotive is only allowed in certain districts. Because it's a use that.
Okay.
It's one of these special uses like home-based businesses, same with, and if you need to go to 165 this is my tattered copy because I use it, it's like a Bible. But if you go to the definition section, there's a definition of what a commercial use is versus a home-based business.
Okay. Okay. I just want a clarification.
And I'm not gonna bore you with reading the definition. 'cause-
I'll take a look at it. Yeah, thanks. And then just a different perspective when you were discussing the fees for the application for the short-term rental. I understand you don't want to make it an exorbitant amount or anything. But I also am sensitive to the fact that it does use town resources. And I'm guessing it's probably a lot more than $25 for the codes officers to go or the fire inspector or whatever, and for Nicole to do her part and what have you. I just want you to consider that there are tax dollars, even though it's nominal, there are tax dollars that go into fees like that.
That's a good point. And as we've talked about, the local law, so it can be changed.
Yeah. And then not to, you know, open a can of worms or anything, but you know, I'm a fan of you and everything, but I'm gonna keep you to your word, hold you to your word. You did make a very public error last week on the town Facebook page. And I think all the candidates do deserve to hear publicly from you on that issue.
I don't have a problem, but I don't know what you want me to say that I have.
Said you would make a public apology at the town. board.
I said I would consider it, but I also talked to Tim. I am not a fan, nor do I use social media. So I was on a separate Facebook page, Elect Team Pompey, making a post about who I was endorsing. When I went to share it to my personal page, somehow, and Veronica knows this, she talked to me about it, I don't understand it. Somehow it defaulted to, because I have 3 different Facebook pages that I administer. It defaulted to the town and posted it there, and I never knew about it till it blew up in the morning when I looked at my phone. So I never knew. As soon as I saw it, I took it down, put up an apology, then I took that down upon advice of the Board of Elections, who I called immediately to report it. And because I did not want to continue to keep the issue going. If the damage was supposedly done, I couldn't undo it, so I might as well minimize it. So I took it all down because I didn't want the conversation. It was election day. I didn't want the conversation to go on. So that's basically, it was a horrible mistake. You can't beat me up any more than I have beaten myself up over it. I do not do Facebook, except when that's why the Elect Team Pompey page is there. So so I just don't. I don't know the ins and outs. Mistake. It was a complete mistake. I can't undo it, but I sincerely apologize for it. And if you want my blood, take my blood. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what else to do. It was, I could not undo it. I couldn't. So if you can believe me or not, but I would never, in fact.
I believe you.
No,
I wanted the public to hear.
In fact, the day before, and I won't mention any names of who I was talking to, I was saying to someone, geez, I don't know if the Pompey Hill Fire Department should be allowing political parties to be having events there, because it's in violation. You're not allowed to use government property for political activity. I just had said that the day before. Why would I then use government property, town website, for political activity? I know better. It was a complete mistake. And I cannot sincerely apologize enough. That morning was horrible for me. Is that enough said?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I don't know. I
That's enough said.
yeah. I wouldn't do it. More than enough said, huh, Dave? Are we done? We have nobody else?
Already on.
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry.
Gonzala,
Okay.
8134 Solomon Seal Lane. Disappointing that there will not be a public hearing on the solar project. Before you adjourn today, please consider having a public hearing on December 5th, even though James Loomis cannot be there. He has already committed to voting no. I ask that the remainder of the board enter public hearing with an open mind. Something from Barbara Stacer, 3457 Sweet Road. Decisions with the magnitude to affect this town the way allowing an industrial solar facility would have should not be left to a board with members leaving after next month. Also, the town supervisors indiscretion on Facebook the night before the general election should end with her resignation. Public officials are held to a higher standard. Only you start. That is it.
That's a great note. And then I make a motion to adjourn.
Dan made one, I'll second it.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.
Still gonna find you.